Yo, what's going on everybody? Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 26 spoilers have just dropped in full, and your OBC, your original Boruto chief, has quite a bit to say about the new developments that we got. We got Sarada versus Damon. Mamushi, he is on his Diddy timing right now, that he's put down the literal bikini magazines to, quote, extract Ada's DNA. And when we don't have Boruto aura farming, we got the political arc of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex beginning just as a subplot of this arc, which means all that crying that we got a few days ago based on the sneak peek that this was another slice of life chapter. This is your friendly reminder. Do not judge a 40-page chapter off of one page. Like usual, we'll go over the key stuff that stood out to me looking over all the leaks, and if you don't hear me touch on a subject in this video today, then I'm saving it for the review because I have stuff that I want to check the lettering for with translators that I'm in contact with in order to get more context. As per the norm, my chapter review editor and I will try to have the review out on the 19th when it drops officially, but it may be the 20th, given I'll be sending the audio over tonight to my editor and he's all the way over in India, so there's like a 10-hour time gap between us. I, as usual, thank you for your patience and your support here, as well as over on my other two anime channels, which subscribe to Anime Explained and Everything One Piece Explained if you haven't already. Both of those will be linked down in the description box. So let's just start with the biggest WTF moment in the chapter. Damon has finally made his move after a whole 25 chapters of foreshadowing that Damon was not buying Sarada and Sumire were affected by Ada's omnipotence, and that they were under the charm effect of omnipotence, but they didn't have their memories altered the second time that Ada used omnipotence to switch the memories of Boruto and Kawaki in everyone's minds. Ada in this chapter, she's having her girls' conversation she wanted with Sarada and Sumire, trying to see when each of them is going to confess to Boruto, and she gets really disappointed by Sarada's very mature answer that Boruto has too much going on right now to even be concerned with how she feels, and that it would make things weird if she brought it up right now in this moment, which that's also Ikimoto telling fans who complained the last chapter, just let things cook instead of walking into the kitchen and critiquing the meal before it's fully out the oven. Let the plot point cook. And that's where Ada goes from what I truly believe is a sincere fangirl moment to a stone serious expression. She asked in this moment, are you really affected? And this time she takes it a step further, and we get some lore expansion on her charm effect that came from when she used omnipotence the first time off screen before we ever met her. So she reveals info that we as the audience, we had previously assumed, but it was never directly stated, so we couldn't 100% say with certainty that this was the case. Those who are truly affected by Ada's omnipotence charm power, they can't be in love with anyone else while they're in her presence, because when they're in her presence, it's supposed to make everyone just turn into a simp at that moment, where she's the only thing on their minds. That's not to say that someone like Shikamaru, when he's away from Ada, can't be in love with Tamari, his wife. He can be, but when Ada is literally standing there, she is supposed to be the number one. When she is talking to you, she is supposed to be number one. Ada clocked from chapter 1 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex that something was wrong, given how concerned that both of these girls were about Boruto. And then again in chapter 16, she was watching them closely. And now in chapter 26, she's thrown the gauntlet down. And to make things worse for them, Damon hits both these girls with the exact same look he did when Code was doing all that talking about how he was untouchable right before Damon wrecked Code. And we see Damon suddenly go from glaring at them to making his move to speed blitz them. Sarada cuts on a Mangekyo Sharingan in an attempt to track his movements, and before she can fully react, he's standing behind her with his palms on Sumire and Sarada's neck, warning Sarada that the Mangekyo Sharingan that she is so proud of, it can be used against her, and depending on what attack she uses, it can be used to kill her. Basically saying without saying, his reflection ability is now in effect because his palms are on both Sarada and Sumire, so any thoughts, any malicious intent, any attacks they're planning, they will get reflected right back on them. Also, that panel of Damon with his hands around their throats, is 100% Black Air Force mentality, and I love it. Now, I did say it in the Patreon Discord server last night when the leaks were coming out, when I was talking to the patrons. I do think that Ada is gonna call Damon off in the next chapter. I don't think we see a full-blown fight with Sarada and Damon. She's silent as she watches them, but Ada's character has been written as wanting a genuine female companionship. And as I've said in the server for a while now, and as I've mentioned in passing in videos over the last couple of years, Sarada and Sumire, they grab her interest over someone like a boy crazy loser like Chocho for a reason. The only question now is, will we finally see why Ada never wanted Damon unsealed? Because he does come off a bit overprotective, and Sarada and Sumire being immune, it makes Ada in greater danger. So the next chapter is going to be very interesting, to say the least, from a character interaction perspective, which the Sumire and Ada video essays I'm sitting on, they're aging pretty well right now. The Sumire one's being edited by the guy who did the Shikamaru video, and the Ada script is still being finished up. Now, the next thing that we have in this chapter that stood out is Shikamaru's Hokage. He is in hot water. Hot enough that Kashin Koji is letting it be known via Inojin, who Boruto previously aura farmed and intimidated him after asking if Inojin likes Himawari, and when the guy blushes, Boruto summons him and he hits him with the Sukuna pose on that throne, looking down at him with his hand resting against his closed fist. Boruto's being the overprotective big brother, totally loved it. However, Shikamaru, he's in trouble right now. The aid to the feudal lord we saw back in the Mujina Bandits arc. If you pay attention to the language, he purposely goes from calling him the 8th Hokage to the acting Hokage to remind him that his position is not official yet. Shikamaru's never had the ceremony. The feudal lord's aide basically says they know something's up with Boruto, that there is a mole in Konoha, and he's going to interrogate everyone, starting with Konohamaru, and he's going to interrogate everyone who had contact with Boruto, which means that conversation we had last year about is Ino gonna turn snitch, that's something we can't rule out. What's also interesting here is this is playing out in how I described in a video a few days ago. I said, don't be shocked if Ikimoto, who has been praised by Togashi, and Ikimoto is a fan of Hunter x Hunter, does not incorporate some of the political elements from the 13th Chairman arc into this chapter. Sure enough, that's exactly what we see. Shikamaru is reminded, number one, you're not the real Hokage officially. It's also a reminder to us as the audience that it is the feudal lords and his aides that pick the Hokage. The Jonin Council vote that you see, that is a mere formality. If the feudal lord says he wants Kiba as Hokage, Kiba is the Hokage. Kiba has to do something royally crazy to screw it up. And this is where he drops a bombshell. The perceived incompetence and the potential of Shikamaru having a mole inside the village, or even being the mole inside the village that is working with Boruto, has the feudal lord asking whether or not the shinobi village even needs to exist anyway. Now, this is something I've talked about before in passing in videos, but I'll end up doing a proper video on this now that it's a plot point. Shinobi villages cannot sustain themselves without the feudal lord. There literally is not enough revenue coming into a shinobi village, even during a time of open cold warfare like when Naruto grew up, to pay for the day-to-day operations of the village. The feudal lord basically funds the remaining amount that ninja missions cannot pay for, and in exchange, the shinobi village protects the nation, so in this case the land of fire, and the assets of the feudal lord. It's modeled very closely after the feudal system in Japan with shoguns and daimon. In the Boruto era, there are even less missions than before, to the point being a shinobi, it is optional. And even in Naruto Part 1, we saw that the daimon in the Land of Wind was cutting back on the village budget for the Sand Village, which is what drove Gaara's father, the Kazekage Rasa, to team up with Orochimaru, because their village was getting desperate due to all the cuts to their overall budget. So this is not anything new. This is something that's been building up for a while. Even in Gaara Hiden, a Sandstorm Mirage, Gaara was having trouble with the feudal lord in this time of peace. So again, this has been building up. Now, the dangling of this over Shikamaru's head, that was a nice touch for a conflict perspective from a writing perspective. And the reminder that he's a temporary Hokage just makes you wonder if this does lead to Kakashi potentially stepping back in, because Kashin Koji in this chapter does say it serves him best if Shikamaru is the one who is Hokage and not anyone else, because their survival in the battles ahead, it depends on Shikamaru being the Hokage who Kashin Koji can work with directly. Now, what's also interesting here is that Sai is in the room as well. Sai just happened to hear Amado reveal that he knew their memories are altered. So you have to wonder if that comes up in any interrogation, if at all, since Sai never had direct contact with Boruto, but he has worked with Shikamaru. This also puts someone like Sarada in danger because she has very loudly been advocating for Boruto, publicly advocating and advocating for Sasuke, saying they should be allowed to come back to the village because she said they were innocent. And Sarada has been shown fighting alongside Boruto twice now. So you have to wonder if her aspirations to be Hokage get thrown back in her face again during that meeting that takes place on screen or off screen in the future. It's the same thing with Kawaki, because it is in his best interest to abuse his position as the perceived biological son of Naruto to keep pushing for Boruto to be executed, though the threat of Jura does make it interesting to see which one wins out, Kawaki's cold consequentialist logic or his obsession to protect Naruto by any means, even if it comes to something contradictory, which is an intentional character flaw for him to make him appear more human from a writing perspective, because we as humans, we're all flawed and we contradict ourselves at times. The fact all of this is happening and we get confirmation that Mamushi is going to be showing up in Konoha to hunt Ada a week later makes for some rather rich conflict. The aid to the feudal lord might be there when Boruto pulls up in this Mamushi battle, or this might be a moment where Boruto just stands pat. We don't know, but I don't think it's by mistake that we have an aid to the feudal lord there in Konoha, seemingly for a lengthy period of time to investigate, and Mamushi is now on the hunt. Which, speaking of Mamushi, Ikimoto has this man right now on some straight Master Roshi vibes right now. He's looking, and by looking I mean he is leaning in pretty close, eyes damn near on the page at the magazine, looking at all kinds of big breasts, which, my guy, I totally understand. I'm a breast guy too. Big breasts, pretty eyes, long legs, those are my weaknesses for any woman. If you got all three, I'm getting a ring and I'm proposing. But Mamushi takes a moment from looking at a big booty butt cheek and big breasts to tell Jura that he's going to pay Ada a visit after realizing why it is that he wants to, quote, make her mine, end quote, giving off some serious Epstein and Diddy vibes here. And he's got a creepy smile on his face that reminds me of Master Roshi, where every time in OG Dragon Ball, he used to perv out on 16-year-old Bulma and 17-year-old Launch. His intentions are as every bit devious, maybe even more devious than Master Roshi was towards both of those girls, which I don't think that's a mistake either. We've seen Ikimoto borrow some stuff from Dragon Ball pay homage before. So Damon just happens to show in this chapter that he's itching for a fight. In the exact same chapter, we see Mamushi has less than pure intentions for Ada when he finds her and tries to consume her, and it builds off the theme of obsession that Bug's love for Ada represents. It's unrequited love. I think we're in for a treat here narratively as well as thematically. While there is more that takes place in the chapter, I'm saving that for the review, which, as previously stated, will likely be out on the 20th and not the 19th when the chapter drops officially. We're going to push to try to make the 19th, but no promises are made there. In the meantime, click here to check out more videos from Naruto Explained, or click here to check out these other videos from other two anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto content.